Australian warship HMAS Toowoomba is heading to the troubled waters of the Persian Gulf.
We've got Iran and Pakistan up there.
The mission? To combat smuggling and piracy. What lies ahead is 6 tough months in this highly volatile part of the world. Facing danger and pushed to their limits.
Take these people over there and get them out of those fire suits! Get his hands on his head!
It's all in a day's work for the pirate patrol. One month from now, HMAS Toowoomba will be joining a US-led multinational force countering the growing problem of smuggling and piracy in the Persian Gulf.
We're in the middle of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Heavily armed warships are playing a seafaring game of cat and mouse.
The pirates have a great business model that works for them. Seize ships, get ransom, make millions.
This anti-piracy mission is a first for the Australian Navy. HMAS Toowoomba's speed and manoeuvrability make it well suited for its primary role of patrolling and intercepting the smaller craft that frequent the Persian Gulf. Toowoomba is a long-range frigate with an array of high-tech weaponry and surveillance equipment.
We are looking for vessels involved in trafficking people, trafficking narcotics and weapons.
There's also the Seahawk helicopter, nicknamed Pegasus. The chopper is central to Toowoomba's role. It can fly up to 200 kilometres away to take a closer look at unidentified craft that show up on the radar. Pegasus can also be used to assist boarding operations. Commander Ivan Ingham is the new kid on the block. An expatriate Brit, he only took charge of the Toowoomba 8 weeks ago.
I'm one of the last people to join the ship. Some people say it's a baptism of fire.
The crew have been in training for this operation for 2 months before Commander Ingham joined them.
I would rather join a ship that's running, me sprint to catch them up, which is what I've had to do, and then it sets us all up well for the year ahead.
But before they can go to the Middle East, they have to prove they are mission ready. What follows is a week of intensive warfare exercises.
Roger, isolating 4 Delta.
It's the final hurdle in the ship's preparation for our deployment.
The pressure will be relentless.
Hit by missiles, torpedoes, anything that can happen to you whilst we're away. This is what they put into one small week.
Eating and sleeping a luxury.
It's long days, you know, you wake up at 4:30, get to bed at midnight sometimes, long days.
And they need to pass this test in order to be allowed to sail for the Gulf.
Something would have to go really badly for us not to be at the standard by Friday.
Room's all set up.
The room's all set up.
When does your mother get here again?
Mum gets here on the 31st.
Simon Howard is second in command of HMAS Toowoomba. He and his wife Amanda are expecting their first baby.
My knowledge of babies is about that much, so I'm pretty sure that the baby at some stage goes there, and at some stage it goes there, at other times it goes in there. All I can say is we've spent a hell of a lot of money on something that isn't tangibly here yet.
They're going to induce the birth 10 days early to fit in with Simon's deployment to the Gulf. As if he didn't already have enough on his plate, as Executive Officer, or XO, it's Simon's job to welcome aboard the Mission Readiness Evaluators.
On a morning such as this, there's a lot of expectation amongst the ship. As I said, everybody's well prepared for what we're about to achieve. It's
just that anticipation now of not knowing what's coming and the ability to react to whatever happens.
Commodore Steve McDowell is in charge of the green uniformed Sea Training Group, who, over the coming week, will push the Toowoomba's crew to their limits, testing their endurance under pressure and their ability to deal with a range of emergency situations. Commodore of Flotillas, or Conflot as he's known, has the last word on whether or not Toowoomba is mission ready.
The process is exhaustive, forensic, very searching, and at the end of the process, I have to be absolutely convinced that the ship's company, with their ships, can perform the mission that is required of them. Ours is a business where you don't get a second chance, so you have to get it right the first time.
By the end of the week, they will need to show they are able to deal with any scenario effectively and quickly.
The elements that make it tough is just constant action. There is no break. Sleep is an absolute luxury. If they can steal 20 minutes here or there, that's a great thing for them, but we really push them to the limits. And the fatigue element is what makes it the hardest.
David McDonald is Conflot's right-hand man. He has concerns about the mental readiness of Toowoomba's crew.
This ship, its probably biggest, weakest point has been their performance on the first day of sailing. Toowoomba suffers very badly from Mondayitis and really struggles to put a decent performance together and switch on. They're not switched on from the moment they cast off their lines and proceed to sea. They could find themselves in trouble because once they're at sea, anything can happen.
The exercises will be conducted just offshore, close to Toowoomba's home base south of Perth, Western Australia, aiming to replicate the conditions they will face on their mission.
There's generally more ships around, more small contacts around. There's more to look at, there's more to monitor, and of course there's the ever-present danger, if you like, navigationally, because you're in shallower water.
Right, come on everyone, squeeze in, squeeze up, squeeze it right in so the Sea Training Group don't have to yell.
Captain, ship's company. All right.
For the 164 men and 29 women of HMAS Toowoomba, this last week before deployment will be the toughest of tests.
Good luck tomorrow, good luck on Friday.
Lieutenant Lisa Young is officer of the watch on the bridge. She helps drive the ship.
My job on the bridge is very challenging. So many different things can happen and you're constantly thinking on your feet.
Although she's been in the Navy for 7 years, this will be her first deployment to the Middle East. She faces an exhausting week and even more pressure to keep her wits about her.
I don't expect to get much sleep. It's going to be a very tiring couple of days for us. We will be challenged on the bridge. Things will not go to plan, but it's all a matter of overcoming that and getting through, and that's what the Sea Training Group are really looking for.
Leading seaman Adam Basket is an old Navy hand.
For lack of a better term, is my home. Last year I was away for about 10 months, so it's a home away from home.
He's the go-to guy in a crisis, expecting 110% from his colleagues and himself.
Good job, don't pass me. Come in.
The challenge for this week is to basically get in on everything, make it 100%, whatever they throw at us, succeed.
This is your opportunity to demonstrate to us, to Conflot, and most importantly to yourselves, that you have reached the standard required to allow you to conduct the mission for which you will be tasked. It's now all up to you.
Safeguard, safeguard, safeguard. Alarm, alarm, alarm. Ionisation alarm compartment.
Action stations. The simulated warfare exercise has begun.
Righto, let's get back into it, Toowoomba. RSP1.
HMAS Toowoomba is under air attack from the fictitious Avalonian Air Force.
Positions, right, right, positions. Eyes, eyes, eyes.
Quick sit rep for you. You'll have gathered that we came under air attack from the Avalonian Air Force. Both raids were successfully countered by Toowoomba. We're currently acting in self-defence.
The captain is commanding the defence of his ship from the operations room. This is the brain of the ship. When when a war is fought, it's usually fought from here. Using radar and other high-tech surveillance, the captain can see where the attacks are coming from and take appropriate steps. Toowoomba has a number of options to defend itself. By changing position, the ship presents the smallest possible target to the enemy. Firing metal debris and other decoy materials, Toowoomba can try to fool the enemy missiles off course. And Toowoomba can shoot back.
We need to be at a high state of readiness, that is all.
These tactics have successfully foiled the first wave of simulated Avalonian air attacks, but it's not over yet.
You have a determined enemy that is now marshalling coordinated attacks on your ship. Okay? You need some help. You need some help.
Even while under imminent threat, Commander Ingham not only has the defence of his ship and crew to manage, he also has political and strategic implications to consider.
Has the strategic situation shifting under your feet?
Absolutely.
Somehow you need to communicate that in addition to chat to your boss.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what you're living right now. This could have strategic implications.
Spike jamming cease 255.
Comflot acts as both a mentor and inquisitor. One moment he's offering advice, the next he's turning the thumbscrews.
That's a handy tip. I'll give you 30 seconds.
Commander Ingham is forced to make a snap assessment of the unfolding crisis and report to his superior officer back at HQ.
Let's assume you've got a moment to talk to me as your boss. What are you thinking?
In a role play, Comflot grills him about the situation.
Did you provoke any of this?
No, not in any way whatsoever.
Were you operating within your rules of engagement?
Yes, I did.
So there was no change in our force posture?
No.
Okay.
No provocation from Toowoomba whatsoever.
Okay.
And it's difficult because there's multi-inputs going on, so there's lots of information, and you've got to keep one eye and one ear on what's going on around you with the ship, and of course you've got to keep engaged with Comflot as well, so you've got to do a bit of multitasking.
Now HQ know what's going on. Commander Ingham and the crew of Toowoomba are on their own.
Shaft Delta, starboard launcher, engage.
You have another raid developing.
Depot 1 bearing on.
The next wave of missile attacks is just seconds away. He's only known them for a couple of months, but now the new captain of HMAS Toowoomba has to be able to trust his crew.
Make the team work to you. Make them feed you, otherwise you'll get sucked into. Focus on what's important. You've got to continue to fight to stop further attack. Then worry about who's dealing with your people. Okay?
Yeah. So obviously, sir.
Now's not the time. Defend yourself.
But this time, all the gadgets and defensive tactics are not enough to protect them. It looks like this wave of enemy missiles is going to get through.
Continue to close, now 7.5 miles.
If these get through, where are you going to wear the damage?
50 seconds time. Engaging with gun.
Bridge in here.
5 seconds time on top.
You're probably going to kill the brains of the ship.
30 seconds time on top.
You can't do much about it now. You've got to work on the premise. Soft and hard kill's going to work for you.
Let's go, port side. All positions. Eyes. From the DD. From the Foxtrot.
Toowoomba has taken a simulated hit. The operations room has to be evacuated.
26 up. Get her out of here.
At the moment, they're just trying to clear all the casualties from up here. They're just trying to establish what damage they've got through the ship.
Oh, let's get these casualties out here, the aircraft.
To see what's burning, what's got holes in it, what's flooding. And once they work that all out, they'll be able to start getting all their crew together and building fire teams so they can go in and start fighting fires.
Fires are raging on 3 levels. It's one of the most dangerous and difficult emergencies a ship can face.
Ship killer for them at the moment is fire.
Can I get a set?
Smoke is their worst enemy from here on in. They have a finite amount of breathing air available on board, so unless they can control the smoke spread, all that's going to happen is the incident's going to get larger and larger until they are chased out of the internals of the ship.
Damage control is being coordinated from the engine and systems control room.
DC-5 muster and investigate. Smoke, smoke, smoke.
This is the heart of Toowoomba. From here, all areas of the ship can be monitored. Basco coordinates the firefighting teams.
Where are you going with it? Nice ball. Why? Full. Put it down.
Usually I'm very cool. I want to know how many are in team 4, I want to know how many are already in team 5, and how many are in team 3. There is moments when you need to flare up a bit. You need to get people motivated.
Take these people over there and get them out of those fire suits. That is your job from now on.
I know what I'm doing, and I'm sending you in there, and this is what you're doing. They'll have more of a confidence in what they have to do.
Raise your hand if you're going in. 3, 4, 5, go.
I'm 100% confident.
I need 5 spare hands. 5.
For Basco, the next 30 minutes will be critical. Time is of the essence. Every second lost in dealing with the fire and smoke damage is a second closer to losing the ship.
That is my problem. At the moment, I do not have enough resources to deal with Echo. I'm short of air.
It took nearly 20 minutes for the damage control officer in here to actually get an understanding of the scope of damage in the ship, something that previously they've been able to achieve in 5 to 8 minutes. Let's think through the quickest and simplest means of clearing smoke out of the ship. So let's get on with it.
All right, Casey.
So far, David McDonald is less than impressed.
They're a little flat. So we'll see how the rest of it goes. They've got another 2.5 hours of this before we walk away from it and let them start to reconstitute themselves. So they've got time to recover, but it hasn't really been a good start.
Up on the bridge, a new threat is emerging. A number of small boats are approaching the Toowoomba, and they don't look too friendly.
So we've now upped the level of warfare, and we're now running a scenario to test their rules of engagement and their thought process. They now need to have a look at all the different boats that are around. They've got that as a motor vessel, they've got a skiff and a dhow that are coming at them. They need to decide what they're going to do about each one.
In charge on the bridge, navigator Jonathan Beattie is put to the test.
SCO navigator. Roger, you watch this aircraft on our port side.
I think I thrive on the pressure sometimes. Have to really know what the 3 or 4 moves ahead is going to be.
Tracking left to right, range 200 yards.
Yeah, and I will lay out the worst case scenario.
You're close to your coalition warship.
A small boat might not seem like any threat to a big warship, but it was a scenario just like this that brought disaster when a craft packed with explosives attacked a US destroyer in 2000.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alvia Ewell.
And I'm Tom Shad. The Pentagon announced these new developments today. Officials say that Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri, a Saudi of Yemeni descent, is the mastermind behind the attack that killed 17 Norfolk-based sailors in Yemen.
The rules of engagement require that the approaching boats be given plenty of opportunity to back off. After all, they might just be inquisitive day trippers wanting to say hello. It's a fine balance between accountability and self-defence. Get it wrong one way and innocent civilians can get hurt. Get it wrong the other way and you put your crew and ship at risk. Too late. If that boat had been packed with explosives, the result could have been disastrous.
So they've just watched that boat come in. They've fired some warning shots, they've backed down. As you can see, the boat got pretty close, so probably would have kept coming and hit.
It's now 15:30 in the afternoon, and it's been constant since we joined. This will continue right the way through till 10:00 tomorrow, if they get it right. If they don't get it right, we keep going until they do.
Below decks, the damage control crews are shoring up the hatches in a simulated flooding exercise. The missile attacks have left a hole in the side of Toowoomba. By sealing off the adjacent compartments, they can limit the flood damage to the one section and stay in action. But if they fail to secure them quickly, more sections of the ship will be lost. It's a race against time, with 2 hatches between 3 sailors. Now the power has gone, making the job even more difficult, particularly for the guy on his own.
They had one bloke on the escape, one on the main hatch. What they should have done was work together, and they would have had those up much quicker. So around about the 5.5 minute mark to get that up, but they could have done it faster.
Make sure you keep moving. Move and talk.
Meanwhile, the fire and smoke affecting the operations room is still not under control.
Keep working it. The harder you work, the quicker you get out of here.
Until it is, the Toowoomba is particularly vulnerable to further attack.
The operations room is the nerve centre of the ship. Everything is run from the operations room. The whole war is fought from here.
Without radar and sonar, the only way you can see your enemy approaching is with the naked eye. By then it could all be too late. And without communications, you can't call for help.
So it's very important to get this compartment back and put the fire out underneath. Scientists have worked out if you don't get the top boundary within 8 minutes, then there's a good chance that you would have lost this compartment, and the sides is 10 and underneath 12.
How many minutes have they taken?
Today they took 9 minutes.
What's your intentions, number 3? What's your intentions?
We have to fall back because we have to leave the team, sir.
Well, how about remain some integrity here? Maintain some integrity. Get that door closed.
That's it. I got it. You can't see what's happening. Yeah.
As the first day of exercises draws to a close, Commander Ingham awaits the verdict.
This is one of the most complex ones I've seen, one of the most difficult ones we've done. We suffered a lot of damage very early on. We lost all our power, lost all of our communications, so it took longer than normal to get a clear picture of what was going on. But the team did that eventually, quite effectively, I think. Obviously the detail of the debrief is yet to follow.
Has Toowoomba managed to shake off the curse of Mondayitis? If they want to go on pirate patrol, they need to prove they are mentally ready for operations in a war zone.
Righto, Toowoomba, here we go again. What did I write down here, right at the very beginning? Another Toowoomba Monday. You failed. And you failed abysmally. It takes you 24 hours to get into the right headspace. You cannot do that. This is not a game. You must sort this particular issue out. I'll be brutally honest, it is my biggest concern about your ability to perform in theatre. If something's going to go wrong, it won't be in the middle of the week when your head's where it needs to be. It won't be halfway through your patrol. It'll be when you are at your most vulnerable. You need to switch on, Toowoomba, and you need to learn to switch on now. The majority of you are passengers today, and you cannot be passengers. Have I made myself clear for the very last time? Yes. I expect a significantly improved performance tomorrow. My God, you're going to have to impress me. All yours, X.
After a mauling from Sea Training Group, Simon Howard steps up to rally the troops.
Squeeze in, shut that door.
They can't give up so early in the week. They have 4 more days of this to endure.
Righto, there it is. I'm sick of them. And I'm sure everybody here's bloody sick of them, yeah? It's like we've got stage fright. It's like we're scared of them. I'm not scared of them. Basco, are you scared of them? Right. Stu, you scared of him?
Nah.
Right. What concerns me, and what should be concerning every single person here, is that it takes Sea Training Group to stick a rocket up our arse before we can pull it together and pull this off. Right, are we going to do better tomorrow? Yes, sir. Okay, righto, let's get back into it. Come on, 156, let's go.
5.
It's at times like this that some divine inspiration is called for.
The day is now past.
and the night is at hand. So we will not be afraid on the day of judgment, and bring us to the fulfillment of your joy, for you live and reign with the Father and the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Amen. Just take a minute to look at that.
It's a disastrous start to the final week of mission readiness exercises. Having failed to impress the Sea Training Group instructors, the crew of HMAS Toowoomba have to pick themselves up and start again. Basco takes failure personally.
Very few times have we been told that we're deficient and quite poor in certain respects, and yesterday was one of those times. Yeah, it was a kick in the guts.
For the boarding teams, regular, realistic training is essential. One of the main security tasks in the Persian Gulf will be to board and check any vessels suspected of smuggling or piracy.
All Australian Navy boarding party! Sir, step away! You keep going, sir! You keep going! You put your hands up!
These guys need to be prepared for anything.
Lost that leg! Lost that leg!
Always up for a fight, Basco is happy to put himself at the sharp end for the greater good.
The POs will give me a scenario. I'm friendly, just happy to see them. I just don't understand what they're talking about, and I've got to react to the way they react. What are you doing?
They're just asking him questions. He's going to come over as well.
What are you doing?
It's all right. We're just going to ask you a few questions for each
The boarding teams will need to be able to quickly distinguish between someone who is just inquisitive or frightened and someone who really is a threat.
Settle down, sir. Settle down.
Whether they get it right or wrong, the idea is to get the situation under control with minimum harm to all concerned.
We just ramp it up as we go.
Take a few hits then.
Oh, that's nothing. Wait till we get ramped up. You'll be good.
Get him off, get him on his stomach, and get on top of him, get the weight on, handcuff him. Don't call him Sue. Take charge, guys. Right?
Get off! Get off! Get over! Get over now! Get over now! Get over!
Arms out, handcuff him now.
All right. Jump up, let's do this scenario again.
Both levers ahead 30%.
Day 2, a new scenario. Officer of the watch, Lisa Young, has received intelligence that 2 boats in the area are suspected of being involved in smuggling.
Okay, so as you can see, we've got the contact of interest on our port bow, 3 nautical miles.
Now it's her job to put HMAS Toowoomba in a position to check them out.
Maybe some illegal activity occurring.
That's not as simple as it sounds.
She's got 2 people, 1 in each ear, people all around her, so she's juggling keeping the ship safe, keeping the ship pointing in the right direction, talking to the guy down the back who's dealing with the aircraft, talking to the guy on the bridge wing who's dealing with the bribs, and then talking to the warfare officer down in the ops room who constantly wants more information. She's effectively keeping everybody appraised of what's going on whilst controlling the ship and taking guidance for the tactical situation. So it's a fairly complex job.
At times it can be a bit overpowering, and sometimes you think, what am I doing here? But it's good having that responsibility, particularly when everything falls into place and everything goes off as planned.
The plan is to send the helicopter out to take a closer look. The chopper is integral to Toowoomba's long-range surveillance capabilities, able to get a clearer picture of what's on the radar screen. But there's a problem.
That's affirmative that we are delayed by the aircraft due to the fact we had an APU start, but they can't start the engines, and the maintainers are down there investigating the defect at the moment.
This isn't just a test scenario. The chopper really has broken down.
No, not both engines. Yeah, but that's 14 and 15. number 2 engine's on the start, and D, which is number 1 engine's on the start.
With the helicopter out of action, Lisa is unable to get a close-up assessment of the two boats and whether they are friend or foe. She now needs to take the more dangerous step of dispatching a boarding party to check them out. They will be the front line of Toowoomba's mission in the Gulf. And they don't know whether the reception they get will be friendly or hostile. A new air attack threat is imminent. This is the second time in as many days.
Assume damage control, state 1, condition Zulu.
All positions, ice! Bang! Hit Alpha, port side, stand 2. Check for damage,
3-4 Foxtrot, all compartments ionisation alarm, all compartments 3-4 kilo. Flood alarm, bilge alarm, 4 Delta.
Toowoomba has been hit again.
Effectively, we've got fires on 2 decks and in 1 watertight section forward end of the ship, and we've also coupled that with what we call a fast flood, so a compartment completely open to the water.
Make sure they come back through,
On the bridge, Commander Ingham is faced with a stark dilemma.
What's the air threat in terms of numbers and threat? 2, sir. 2? Yeah.
He needs to quickly take action to evade the enemy aircraft and to protect Toowoomba from further attack. But he also has boarding parties out on the water, and he needs to bring them safely back aboard.
I need to know whether the boarding team are attendees back into the vessel again.
Can he do both?
5 mark countdown.
Taking time to save the handful of personnel in the boarding teams places the whole ship and crew in jeopardy.
Safety of 150
versus
the safety of...
Yeah, I understand, so yeah.
Okay. Tough position as the captain.
Which will he choose? Minutes away from an enemy air attack on his ship, Commander Ingham makes his decision. He's bringing the boarding teams home.
Get up alongside, get those people on board.
No.
This is my intention. We will slow and embark the personnel from the boats.
The safety of the ship and the safety of everyone on my sailors is at the very front of my mind in everything that we do. If we're not safe, we can't do our job, we can't achieve our mission, so self-preservation is a great instinct in warfare.
They're safe, but back below decks, there's a problem.
Come on, standing straight! Let's go!
The damage control teams are once again battling fire and flood.
Don't actually knock anything.
With after aviation, sir.
They seem to have raised their game and have the situation under control.
Much better today. The real weaknesses that were demonstrated yesterday were at the repair base level and their ability to actually identify, report and contain the incidents they had to deal with. The fires appear to be contained at this stage, and the floods appear like they're being controlled at the moment from the information we're seeing behind.
Watch out, 4 Delta.
Meanwhile, Conflot Steve McDowell assesses how the ship is coping with the casualties of the simulated war.
Okay, you in charge, PO? I am, sir. Well, what's your total number of casualties? Work down for me in priority order what you're dealing with.
The cafeteria has become the ship's hospital. Up to 10% of the crew are dead or injured.
Okay, but you've got 15 total, 3 killed,
Yes.
12 in various states of priority.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To make things even more complicated, the training instructors have identified some key people to join the casualty list so that more pressure is applied to junior or less experienced personnel.
We've had a very complex, challenging scenario that we've given the ship to deal with.
There's a very strong feeling of ownership, what I call ownership of their ship, and there's a real sense of strong teamwork and looking after one another. This is about as good as it gets at this stage.
With a greater burden falling on younger shoulders, Comflight gives some of the junior sailors a pep talk.
What I want to see you guys and girls do is work together as a team to help your captain to deal with the circumstances that you've been given. Keep yourself managed in terms of your fatigue, because you might find yourself going in to do operations, and this is real world operations now, it's not about doing exercises. You might find yourself doing operations without a break for a long period of time. So you have an obligation to your chief, to your senior sailor, to your officer, to your captain, just like he has an obligation to you to manage your fatigue. Is that enough sort of handy tips for you?
Yep.
Okay, have a good day and keep smiling.
Thanks, sir.
Day 4, and another attack by the small boats. This time around, they're approaching at high speed and ignoring radio instructions to turn away. The talking is over.
Engage! Engage!
Friend or foe, if those boats were a legitimate threat, they aren't anymore.
So pass on to the ops crew that all service contacts have been destroyed.
Alright, if you're a spare hand, let's go!
It's now been 4 days of relentless testing by the Sea Training Group, and the strain is beginning to show.
Get in your way, get him out of the way, get out!
Where the challenge will come is the adrenaline starts to come off and fatigue starts to settle in and there's no let up in the tempo. Then we'll see how the teamwork is really strong or not. They'll be sweating very hard. Fluid management is an important issue for them because it's starting to get hot here already. And at that time, the sugar levels from their lunch will start to wash out of their system and their bodies will then crave for a rest.
Everyone is exhausted, but Commander Ingham urges them to hold it together for one last push.
There's one final milestone yet to deliver. What Sea Training Group will be expecting to see is how we'll respond when we're deployed. Fall back to your training, work together as a team, be controlled, be aggressive, be enthusiastic, and just remember, attitude is everything.
They need to keep going to prove they do have the stamina to cope with the extreme pressures they could face in a real-life emergency on deployment.
So tonight, get a good rest, and let's work together and achieve something special. You can do it.
It's Friday, the final day of the mission readiness evaluation. There's still another 4 or 5 hours before the test period is officially over. For some, that can't come soon enough.
Exhausted, absolutely exhausted and tired. I went to bed last night at 1 o'clock and was up this morning at 5, so 4 hours sleep, if that. Very, very tired and can't wait to go home and have a night's sleep.
Roger, readings at 4 Foxtrot, 20...
Basco and his team have been up all night dealing with a simulated toxic hazard.
Most of us have been up for about 22 hours.
100% repairs, there you go. Cleanup is 50%. It was a split in the piping.
That's after a 6-week workup, so we're all pretty exhausted.
And words can't describe how tired Lisa Young feels.
I lost my voice the night before. It's been a bit of a battle. I've been on the bridge. I was on the bridge for 10 hours yesterday, trying to use my voice the whole time, and unfortunately it hasn't come back yet this morning either. It's been quite a long couple of days, and obviously it's affected my immune system, but I had about 3 hours sleep last night, so it's running on adrenaline at the moment and looking forward to it all finishing this afternoon.
It's all over. Now comes the moment of reckoning.
Ho! HMAS Toowoomba stand at ease.
Come in, team. Can I first say thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, Sea Training Group, into your ship, what has been now for a long period of time. There is no more normal games. You must win every day. But you know, guys and girls, if you don't, that is when you're most at risk.
After all the anticipation, the training and the tough warfare scenarios, has Toowoomba passed its mission readiness test?
Did you win the grand final? Yes. You bet you did. Toowoomba, you're mission ready. Well done, Captain. I know you're keen to get on now with your mission. I am too. You are now on your own. Stay safe. Godspeed. Win. Come home.
Okay, I don't need to say anything except for one word and three numbers. Brilliant! 156, let's go.
Now the crew have a short break after all the hard work. In 3 weeks, they head to the Persian Gulf. This will be rookie Samantha Whitfield's first deployment.
It's only when you go on these deployments that you realise that you're actually going into an area that's quite risky, and your family do worry a lot more than you do.
But she also has a special reason to look forward to it.
My partner Scott is currently deployed on HMAS Warramunga. 5 months ago he sailed to the Gulf and will be apart for 11 months. So in about 1 month, when our ships cross over, we might be able to see each other for 3 hours. So that will be a nice reunion.
While Sam might have found love in the Navy, Lisa Young is well aware of the problem of balancing career and personal life.
I've had one relationship break down because of distance, because of postings and uncertainty. That's one thing, being a seaman officer, we do get posted around a fair bit. I've essentially been at sea for the last 3 years straight, doing my training and then doing my job. So the opportunity to have relationships in that sense is very difficult. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too, thank you very much. See you later.
For XO's Simon Howard, this short break is especially timely.
I spent the past 9 months not prepared for this at all, and I can safely say I'm still not prepared for it, but I'm just over the moon.
He has just a few days to get to know his baby daughter before he goes away on deployment.
We've got the newest addition to the Howard family, young Brianna McKenzie, who came into our lives 5 days ago now on Saturday, the 30th of May. And today we've brought her home for the first time. This will be the hardest deployment I've ever had to do. Absolutely, with a brand new child. Really thankful that we've got a couple of days to spend together before I go. That'll be the hardest part about leaving on Tuesday is watching her as we sail away.
HMAS Toowoomba leaves today. It's a last chance for final farewells. The crew won't see their families and loved ones again for 6 months.
Today, we depart confident in our ability to meet the challenges ahead. And after achieving our mission, we look forward to our safe return to you, to our families and friends here at Fleet Base West.
For Commander Ivan Ingham, passing the mission readiness test is only the beginning.
It's a great privilege to be able to go and command a ship, an Australian warship, in the Middle East. We only have one ship there at any one time at the moment.
Having taken charge of Toowoomba, he's now responsible for a $1 billion warship and Australia's naval reputation in the Gulf.
Full engine at 20%.
We are on the world stage as far as the Navy's concerned. We're operating with a huge number of foreign navies, and by our performance they measure how effective and how well trained and how well equipped and how reliable the Royal Australian Navy is. And they look at our ship and then they see it's got the red kangaroo on the funnel and they think of Australia. So we represent the country.
And from here on in, it's no longer an exercise, it's the real deal.